Hello, I'm Ravi Visvesvaraya Sharada Prasad. There has been speculation in the media for several days about a cabinet reshuffle. In contrast, Indira Gandhi's cabinet reshuffles caught everyone by surprise. She often carried them out in the middle of the night. Indira Gandhi's ministers often learnt that they had been dropped from journalists or from press conferences addressed by my father, HY Sharada Prasad. My father wrote numerous articles about cabinet reshuffles and prime ministerial power, and what I'm saying here draws on his articles. My father, who had made a deep study of Clement Attlee's style of governance and administration, said that Walter Bagehot's dictum of Primus Inter Pares was long outdated. And according to my father, ever since Clement Attlee's time, the Prime Minister was very much Primus and not just a Primus Inter Pares. In the initial years of her prime ministership, Indira Gandhi modeled her realpolitik on Big Mac, on Harold Macmillan, whose dictum was, "Ministers must be moved about, for that is how the Prime Minister demonstrates his authority and his power over his cabinet colleagues." And Harold Macmillan had carried out the Night of the Long Knives in July 1962, when he suddenly sacked one-third of his cabinet, including those who had been the most loyal to him. And Indira Gandhi's sacking in 1969 of her finance minister Morarji Desai, which was planned by P.N. Haksar and Pitambar Pant and my father HY Sharada Prasad, with the encouragement of Jayaprakash Narayan and Chandrasekhar. So her sacking of Morarji Desai proved that she had gone one better than Big Mac himself. And then my father had formulated what he called the law of prime ministerial distance and prime ministerial power, that the power differential between the prime minister and his cabinet colleagues increases very rapidly because of the daily briefings which the Prime Minister receives from the Intelligence Bureau about the shenanigans of his colleagues, and therefore the Prime Minister is always in the position to blackmail his cabinet colleagues. And as I said earlier, many of Indira Gandhi's ministers learned that they had been dropped from press conferences addressed by my father. Professor V.K.R.V. Rao, the eminent economist, he was a member of Indira Gandhi's cabinet, and after the first cabinet meeting immediately after a reshuffle, which he managed to survive, he whispered to my father about how insensitive it was on the part of the ministers to not issue a statement appreciating the contributions of those who had been dropped. And my father replied to V.K.R.V. Rao, "Aren't you thankful you survived?" And my father then recounted the Tory MP Gilbert Longden's witty remark to a survivor of Macmillan's Night of the Long Knives, in a humorous twist of Rudyard Kipling's poem, "If." Congratulations on keeping your head when all about you are losing theirs. Regarding the allocation of portfolios, A powerful prime minister always leaves some key portfolios vacant to provide hope to colleagues and so get them to fall in line. And it is only in coalition governments that all portfolios are filled. And my father had detailed how ministers are kept far away from their fields of expertise and experience. No prime minister wants his ministers to be a success in running their ministries, lest they become too popular and powerful and so a threat to him. But on the other hand, they cannot be total failures either. So the PM constantly seeks to keep his ministers in what we scientists call a state of unstable equilibrium, not too successful, but not too unsuccessful either. And the Prime Minister's staff starts a whispering campaign about ministers who have expertise and experience in a particular sector, saying, oh, his ideas are stale and outdated. He cannot see the wood for the trees. He gets caught up in the minutiae and or he has past baggage and he has become beholden to certain interest groups, or he has made too many enemies in that sphere. We need someone who, with a fresh mind, who can think holistically and see the big picture and get along well with other ministries. And also, party members resent the appointments of former civil servants and technocrats. Politicians regard all portfolios as their personal property, and they don't want encroachers coming on to the political turf. The one prime minister who tried hard to run a technocratic professional government was Vishwanath Pratap Singh, and he brought in Raja Ramanna and MJK Menon and assigned them appropriate portfolios, but resentful politicians undermined them. And Indira Gandhi also had appointed a few experts as cabinet ministers: K.L. Rao in irrigation, V.K.R.V. Rao and Nurul Hassan in education, M.S. Sanjeevi Rao in electronics. But they were only moderately successful. And in fact, lawyers who have been given the law portfolio have had difficult times. Justice H.R. Khanna resigned within a few days of becoming the law minister in the Morarji Desai government, and Ram Jethmalani had a very, very difficult time and ran into a lot of controversies. And then we have had more recent examples of law ministers. And Rajiv Gandhi, he kept ministers away from their areas of expertise, and so did P.V. Narasimha Rao. M.S. Sanjeevi Rao, who had been a professor of electronics in the Imperial College of Science and Technology in London, he was shifted from electronics to food processing. Rameshwar Thakur, who was one of the top chartered accountants in the world, was not given any portfolios dealing with finance or with company law. Experienced diplomats like K.R. Narayanan and Kanwar Natwar Singh were kept away from the foreign ministry. K.R. Narayanan was given charge of electronics, and Natwar Singh was given portfolios like fertilizers and steel. K. Rahman Khan, a very leading chartered accountant, was given minority affairs. Prithviraj Chavan, who has a master's degree in electronics engineering from the University of California at Berkeley, and who has worked in the US defense sector. He was not given electronics, but he was given parliamentary affairs. Pallam Raju, who had worked with multinational corporations in the computer industry in Europe. He was given HRD, Human Resources Development, instead of information technology. And we have seen similarly Narendra Modi's tenure, the diplomat Hardeep Singh Puri did not get any posting in the foreign ministry, but he was given urban development and civil aviation. And KJ Alphonse, who had a long stint in the urban development ministry as a civil servant, he got information and broadcasting rather than urban development. And the former Home Secretary R.K. Singh, he was given charge of electricity. The police officer Satyapal Singh got human resources development. But fortunately, the balance was somewhat corrected by Narendra Modi when he had the former Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar appointed as the Foreign Minister. And according to my father, Clement Attlee had clearly foreseen the problems involved in appointing professional experts as ministers, and he had said experts should be on tap but should not be on top, and that experts should be appointed as advisors in bodies such as the Planning Commission, but not as ministers with executive responsibility for results. So please subscribe to my YouTube and IGTV channels, and please follow my Twitter account at RVP and also my LinkedIn profile. This is Ravi Visvesvaraya Sharada Prasad saying goodbye. Have a great day, and please follow my Twitter account at RVP and my LinkedIn, YouTube, and IGTV accounts. Goodbye.